Common retirement planning mistakes. Oh no, mistakes. We don't want those in retirement. But unfortunately, these are all too common. And these are not in any particular order, but they're the ones that we see literally week in and week out working with clients that are coming in the door looking for help. They've reached out to us, whether it's our television show, Living Large Television, that airs across the Carolinas and throughout the South, or the radio shows, Living Large. And it's this concept, this idea about how do you use what you've been blessed with to enrich your lives and the lives of others heading into and during retirement without breaking the number one rule in retirement: don't run out of money. So that's the whole idea. So what are some common mistakes that people seem to be making, unfortunately, all the time? It's way too common. Let's start off with this one. All your eggs in one basket. Where in the world did that even come from? You know, actually doing some Google searches, I was able to find, and growing up on a farm back in the day, the idea of all eggs in one basket, you know, it used to be common for people to have 8 or 9 or 10 kids when you lived on a farm. And they would literally send the children out to collect the eggs in the morning. Well, they'd take a basket and they'd go collect eggs, and invariably, before they could get back to the house to cook the eggs, somebody tripped Junior or Johnny, and guess what happened? Eggs were scrambled, not in the way they were looking to be scrambled either. So they started sending them out with multiple baskets, knowing that somebody was getting back with fresh eggs so we could actually have breakfast. Yeah, that's the idea. But when it comes to retirement planning, having all your eggs in one basket is something we see all the time. People come in for a complimentary written retirement plan. And when we look at their statements from their big box retail firm, we'll ask questions like, well, tell me, how was it set up this way? Or what was going on? What was the thought process and how these allocations were done? And a lot of times they have several different types of accounts. They'll have a brokerage account. They'll have sometimes, hopefully, a Roth account, definitely an IRA or a 401. So they have the different stuff for retirement. But when we ask them how they were set up, we a lot of times hear, well, this is just what they picked out for us. These were the stocks, the mutual funds, the bonds. This is what they did. Or they had the dreaded boomer portfolio. 60% equities and 40% bonds. That was supposed to keep you safe. How'd that work out in 22? But anyway, they come in without a specific plan, and what we find when we do the analyzation, we can't look at the statements and tell you this. What we find when we do the analyzation, however, my certified financial planners, the planning team, they do things like run a correlation matrix, which is where we take all the statements you provided us with, put them into one big spreadsheet. And of course, I'm a nerd. I love this kind of stuff. But we do it in a very educational manner for you, where you can see how correlated your holdings are. So a lot of times people think they're very diverse because they have 48 different mutual funds. But then when someone actually takes the time to build a correlation matrix, here's what they find. They have a very highly correlated portfolio. It means they're all moving in the same direction at the same time. Well, during a market growth period, that could be really good for the portfolio. What does that mean when the market does what it's done this year? When everything is highly correlated and the market's going down, it may mean that you're having much higher losses than you ever expected, and you find that you actually weren't diverse in your planning as you might have thought you were based on all the different holdings. A lot of times we can say things like, hey, if you want both these mutual funds, or you like this mutual fund, then let's put it all in one of the two, the one that has the lowest fees, because they're doing exactly the same thing. They're 98% correlated. That's the kind of numbers you don't want to see in a financial plan where all your assets are correlated the same way. So what's another common thing we see? No income plan. They've got all this stuff in there for retirement. They have the Roth, this, that, the other, but nobody's ever taken the time to build an actual written income plan. One that addresses how much money you can take out of those accounts, adjusted for inflation, especially in this market, right? Adjusted for inflation after taxation. Remember, we're in a rising tax environment, 30 trillion in debt. And how much you'll be able to spend of your hard-earned money for the rest of your life without running out. That's not shown on your financial statement, is it? Why haven't they taken the time to build one? Buy a certified financial planner? How about this? No plan for how you should be claiming Social Security. It's different for everybody. There's no cookie cutter way. If it's a married couple, we have to look at age differences. We have to look at longevity. We have to look at who earned the most money and make a determination of when the best way to claim your Social Security is. Think about it this way. The plan for everybody when it comes to Social Security ought to be, how do we get the most back of your hard-earned money that you put into the Social Security system? How do we do that? Well, if we had a crystal ball and we knew exactly how long you were going to live, I could tell you exactly when you ought to claim Social Security. But lacking that, not knowing when we're going to pass away, we have to do some real work and do Social Security planning in your retirement plan. How about this? No plan for where and when you should take RMDs. So we know you have to start taking them currently at the age of 72. That moved from 70 and a half during the Secure Act. But many people have not been told that with the new Secure Act, another version of it coming out, the new Secure Act 2.5 that's already passed the House and will pass the Senate, sure enough, they're going to start raising those dates from 72 up to 73, and over the next few years, it maybe get them as high as 75. Where's your written plan for how you're going to take those required distributions? And which account should you take them out of? Do you know many people don't realize when they have multiple IRAs, they don't have to take an RMD out of each one. They just have to make sure they satisfy the total amount of required minimum distributions they were supposed to take. So there's another example of things that we see missing. How about a plan for Medicare? Medicare is something you're forced to take at age 65. You have to take it whether you want it or not. Where's the written plan for how to take it? What I mean by this is, did you know you could be living in your beautiful subdivision and your neighbor right next door, because of how they were able to structure their finances, they're living a similar lifestyle, living in the same subdivision, driving the same nice cars that you're driving, but they may be paying half, 3/4, or even more, that you could be paying 3, 4, 5 times more for your Medicare than your neighbor next door that's living a very similar lifestyle. And it's all because they had a better planner than you did. How about that, right? So you have to know how to take Medicare and how to plan to pay the least amount in Medicare. One of the things we have to focus on is how we plan for you to pay the least amount of tax on your Social Security payments. Now think about that. Your Social Security for a married couple can be taxed at up to 85% of the Social Security that you receive can be taxed. Up to 85% of it can be taxed. But do you know there's people that have a great level of income that pay absolutely no tax on their Social Security? Again, they were working with a better retirement planner than you were. And if your current big box retailers never talk to you about how to help avoid paying tax on Social Security or how to reduce what you're paying, I think you may need to start looking for a new planner. How about this? No plan for long-term care. Now that doesn't mean that we want you to rush out and buy long-term care insurance. In fact, traditional long-term care insurance is an absolute scam in my opinion. It's very unlikely that you would ever see us recommending traditional long-term care. Now that doesn't mean that we don't see clients come in with a policy they've had for 20 years that we want them to keep. Why? Because it's a good one. But if you've bought it in the last few years, it has to be looked at with a fine-tooth comb, because unfortunately what we find all too often is you're paying into a policy that will continue to go up over time and you don't even know if you're going to use it. But that doesn't mean you don't need a plan for what you would do if long-term care comes your way. How about this? Do you have a plan for how you stay in your home? Most people I find are just like me when it comes to this. If I ever need long-term care, can't perform 2 of 6 activities of daily living, of course, if you ask my wife of 29 years, she says I'm already there. I think one of those is cooking and cleaning, but whatever. If a doctor says you can't perform 2 of 6 activities of daily living, do you have a long-term care plan that will help increase your monthly income so that you could have that right in your home, right where you're currently living? Or do you have to actually go somewhere and be confined? I know where I'd rather stay, right there in my beautiful home. How about no advanced tax planning's ever been done? We see this all too often in retirement planning. No one's ever talked to them about taking money out of the IRAs, out of the 401s, and moving it into a Roth. And is that the right solution so that you could end up paying less taxes in retirement? Now that's a pretty important thing, isn't it? Taxes absolutely matter. How about this? How about legacy planning? How about the idea of which bucket of money, when you think about buckets of money, IRA money, 401 money, brokerage accounts, savings accounts, which buckets, if you're going to leave money to loved ones, which bucket should you be leaving them? And which one should you not be leaving them? Think about this. Because of the new rules, you can no longer leave that IRA to a son or a daughter and let them take their withdrawals from it over a lifetime. It has to be fully liquidated within 10 years. So if you left them $1 million, if they took it out yearly, you'll take whatever income they're at and you'd have to add $100,000 to it, forcing them a lot of times into the highest tax positions, the highest tax brackets we have. So you actually left them $1 million, but they didn't get anywhere close to $1 million because you gave them a gift with a string attached. Why hasn't your current big box retail planner sat down with you and addressed all these changes that have happened over the last few years? And why haven't they put together a plan for you of how you want to handle them? It's your money. You worked hard for it. It should be up to you how you spend it, how you give it away, and what you do with it. Well, it can be, but you're going to have to start taking control of your finances and getting true, real information from licensed fiduciaries and certified financial planners. Click on the link below and my team will be happy to sit down with you or do a Zoom meeting and build you a written retirement plan, a confident financial future done by a certified financial planner, and we'll do it absolutely complimentary with no obligations of any kind. Click on the link below.